Great. Hi.
He looks like a geezer.
You...
Welcome to the Geezer Show. Today's guest is Ben Crane from Brooklyn, New York. Ben is the father of a good friend of my daughter, Betsy's, and her name is also Betsy. So the two Betsy's have brought Ben and Len together. Welcome, Ben. Welcome.
Thank you.
Let's start with your childhood. You were born in Massachusetts, like me.
I was born in Sterling, Massachusetts, where Mary had a little lamb. I mean, literally, that was the town where Mary had her lamb. Sterling, Massachusetts, which is just outside of Boston. Well, as a child, I was a child. And my father was a Unitarian minister. Being a Unitarian minister was not a good deal because they got paid almost close to nothing.
Oh, God.
But they worked for, I mean, they tried to deal with their local folks. And my father was an accomplished musician. He was a pianist.
You wrote a memoir, and it's broken up into several chapters that really capture your childhood.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you want to expand on that? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, I thought I gave it my best shot. It took me quite a while to write it. Yeah, we were in Georgia in the summertime, and it was hot as hell. My father apparently had rented a beaten-up house, which didn't have running water, and the only thing that I enjoyed about it was somehow my parents met the richest guy in town, and he had up in the attic of his barn a collection of Confederate money, which was totally worthless, but it was great to play with because it was very large and looked very official.
Can you tell us a little bit about when you moved back and your mom set you up at a school for orphans? She seemed like an incredible advocate for your education.
Well,
and for you and your brother.
She was a librarian. She was a very hardworking woman all her life. She was a very nice woman. When I think back on it, I was very happy to have a mother who was knowledgeable, sensible, caring, not full of herself, which was very nice. I think that was basically the best that she could do. She didn't have any money. And Lincoln Watts Children's Home, there were probably 40 or 50 kids in it. It was all boys. Your clothing was taken away during the week and washed, and then it was handed out by Mrs. McDonald at the beginning of the week. So you never had any relationship to your clothing. I mean, it's not like having a favorite shirt or anything like that. It was just stuff that passed through your life. And we had a backyard which was paved, and you couldn't even roller skate in it. It was not ideal. My older brother was a scientist, and he went to the Bronx High School of Science. And I don't think he had any choice. I mean, basically, he said, "This is where you're going." And so I went to the Bronx High School of Science, and that was an interesting time because a lot of Jewish professors had been driven out of Europe, and they showed up in New York, and they showed up in the New York City school system, and they were very, very accomplished people. So we had some really good teachers.
I think we have something else in common. We were both in the Boy Scouts.
Yes. Yep. I had several Boy Scout awards or whatever you call it.
I got as far as Life Scout, but I never made it to Eagle. I quit before then. It was great,
Well, it was nice to have a group of boys to play with that were intelligent and nice. They weren't nasty. It was very nice.
And we were both in the armed services. I was in the Navy and you were in the Army in Italy. What was that like?
Well, that was terrific. I mean, I was very fortunate because I was part of the Armed Services radio network. And so I had a couple of disc jockey shows. And in Italy, I lived in Livorno in Leghorn. And basically the American soldiers who lived around there would send us requests to play records. And so we would play records, and they were very kind to us because they couldn't get that kind of service anywhere else.
Yeah, you know, it's another thing we have in common. I was disc jockey aboard ship.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was they used to call it, that's where the television and radio got the name. On board ship, we used to call it the green room. Huh. See, the funny part about it, I never drank until I got out of the Navy and I got married. I never drank anything, wine or anything, just Pepsi-Cola, Coca-Cola. But then when I got in the advertising business, one of the things you had to learn was how to drink a martini. Only I drank too many of them.
Yeah, you got good at that, Dad.
Yeah, I know. Now, you were a lawyer also, weren't you, Ben?
Well, my law career was fortunately very successful. I went to NYU Law School, and then I worked at a New York City law firm called Cravath, Swaine and Moore, which is still around, and I was a partner there for 40 years.
Wow.
And I worked for all kinds of clients in all kinds of jobs all around the world. Had a wonderful time.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Any particular cases that stand out?
No, I wouldn't say so. But, you know, corporate work is seen from the outside is pretty dull. But when you're working on it, it's very intense. So you work your ass off. And I enjoyed that very much.
Well, I worked for a corporation, and the corporate lawyer was Richard Nixon.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. And, you know, he wasn't as bombastic. He was a staunch Republican, and so was the head of my corporation. And we used to go to the Lincoln Club for lunch and stuff like that. But I just don't know. He seemed like a regular guy. He'd come to the Christmas parties, and I'd be present because I was doing a lot of PR work at the time for the company. And I'd be present in a lot of the meetings. He helped my CEO develop properties in Newfoundland. So they built a jet refinery, and they built a paper mill. They took this little ice-free harbor in a place in northern Newfoundland western Newfoundland called Come By Chance. That was the name of the town. Yeah, it was fascinating. Yeah, it was absolutely fascinating. I'd start on the eastern end of Newfoundland. Didn't matter what time of the year it was. And you'd hit rain, snow, sleet, sunshine. It was a weather condition just crossing across the island. You did a lot of moving around in New York, didn't you?
Yeah.
Different hotels.
And you basically rented space in various hotels to put up their students. So we moved around quite a bit, but we spent a lot of time in Greenwich Village, which was really worthwhile.
And how my favorite spot, great restaurants down there.
Right.
And jazz places.
Yeah. Well, also in my day, there were places where you could sit on the street across the street from a jazz club, and you could hear the music, but you didn't have to pay for it, which was very nice. I like that.
There was a place in the middle of Times Square. It was called the Downbeat Club.
Right. Yeah.
And I used to, with my buddy, we used to sit out in front of there and listen to the jazz free.
Yeah.
Now, how old are you now?
91.
Jesus, you're a kid. I'm going to be 94.
Oh, my Jesus. Yeah, you're an old guy. You are a geezer.
Yeah, I am a true geezer. Well, I earned the title, so I might as well keep it. Yep. That's an amazing life, Ben. I just want to thank you for spending the time with this old geezer. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. You too.